My beloved child, pause for a moment, because something quietly significant is unfolding around you right now. There are moments in life that feel ordinary on the surface, yet behind the scenes, unseen pieces are slowly moving into place. Tonight is one of those moments. You may not realize it yet, but a new presence is preparing to step into your path. Not by accident, not randomly, and certainly not without meaning. Some people enter our lives like a passing breeze, gentle, forgettable, gone before we even notice. But this arrival will feel different. It will feel like the air shifts slightly, like the atmosphere around your story begins to change direction. And your soulmate, the one whose heart is mysteriously tied to yours, already senses that shift. Yes, even before the moment happens. Before you move forward, listen carefully. Don't skip this part, because something huge is waiting for you in the quiet details. Your soulmate has been feeling something unusual lately. Not fear, not confusion, but a strange awareness, as if the future has gently whispered a secret into their spirit. A tall man is about to cross your path. Not just tall in appearance, but tall in presence, tall in energy, tall in the way his arrival stretches the story of your life in an unexpected direction. And here is the surprising part. Your soulmate wants you to understand something important before that meeting ever happens. Because sometimes, when a new person enters our world, we misunderstand the role they are meant to play. We assume every new face must either stay forever, or disappear completely. But life is more mysterious than that. Some people arrive not to replace anyone, not to complicate your destiny, but to awaken something within you that was waiting to grow. And the tall man approaching your life carries exactly that kind of energy. A catalyst, a quiet turning point, someone who appears at the precise moment when your journey begins shifting toward its next chapter. Your soulmate senses this, and strangely, they are not afraid of it. Instead, there is a calm curiosity inside them, as if they somehow know that this moment is part of a larger story connecting both of you. Think about that for a second. Before you even meet this person, before you hear his voice or see his face, someone else connected to your future is already aware that something meaningful is about to happen. That is not coincidence. That is timing. Life sometimes works like a carefully written story, where certain characters enter the scene exactly when the lesson, the realization, or the transformation is ready to unfold. And the tall man's arrival carries a message your soulmate wants you to remember. A message about trust, a message about patience, and most importantly, a message about not judging a moment too quickly. Because the first impression of someone's role in your life is rarely the full picture. Stay till the end of this journey, because the next part reveals something even more surprising. Your soulmate already knows the reason this tall man is appearing, and what they realized about his purpose might completely change the way you see the next chapter of your life. Something quiet has been unfolding behind the scenes of your life, so subtle that most people would never notice it. But if you pause for a second and truly listen, you might feel it. A gentle shift, as if your story is slowly turning a page. The tall man who is approaching your life is not arriving by coincidence. His appearance carries a moment of realization that your soulmate has already sensed. And this is where things become surprisingly meaningful. Your soulmate understands something about this encounter that you might not see right away. They know that sometimes life sends a person not to stay forever, but to reveal something about your own heart that has been waiting to awaken. Think about that. What if someone enters your world simply to show you a truth you were ready to discover? What if the tall man's presence is not just about him, but about the version of you that is quietly emerging? Don't skip this moment, because something huge is waiting for you in the meaning behind this meeting. Your soulmate feels it deeply. There is a calm voice inside them that keeps repeating the same thought. Something important is about to unfold. Not dramatic, not chaotic, just quietly important. They have noticed small changes in their own feelings recently, moments when your presence crosses their mind without warning, moments when they suddenly wonder what direction your life is taking right now. And strangely, these thoughts appear around the same time the tall man is preparing to step into your world. It is almost like the universe is gently aligning different pieces of the same story. But here is the revelation that may surprise you the most. Your soulmate does not see this man as a threat. Instead, they see him as a messenger. Someone who unknowingly carries a reminder meant for you. A reminder about your worth. A reminder about the kind of energy you deserve around you. And a reminder that your path is expanding into something bigger than what you previously imagined. Sometimes the people who briefly enter our lives act like mirrors. They reflect back qualities we forgot we had. Confidence, strength, clarity. The tall man will bring one of these reflections into your life. You may notice it in a conversation, or in a moment where his words make you pause and think differently about yourself. That moment will feel simple on the surface. But inside, something powerful will shift. Your perspective will stretch wider. Your awareness will deepen. And without realizing it, you will take a step closer toward the connection your soulmate has been quietly preparing for. Stay till the end, because the next revelation is something your soulmate recently realized in a moment of unexpected clarity. They suddenly understood when this tall man might appear in your life. And the timing of that moment is far more meaningful than anyone could have predicted. There is a moment in every life when the future quietly leans closer, almost as if it wants to whisper something important before the next chapter begins. That moment is approaching for you now, and your soulmate felt it before you did. Not through a loud signal, not through some dramatic sign, but through a quiet realization that appeared in their thoughts like a sudden spark of understanding. They began to sense that the timing of this tall man's arrival is not random at all. In fact, it connects directly to a turning point in your personal journey. Think about the last phase of your life. The lessons you've been learning, the patience you've been developing, the moments where you wondered if everything was slowly leading somewhere greater. Those moments were not empty. They were preparing you. Because the tall man enters your story at the exact moment when you begin seeing yourself differently. This is the part your soulmate realized with surprising clarity. They understood that the tall man appears right when you start stepping into a stronger version of yourself. Not louder, not more dramatic, just more aware, more confident in the quiet way someone becomes confident after learning deep lessons. And when that moment arrives, the encounter will feel strangely familiar. You may notice it instantly. Something about his presence will make you pause for just a second. Not because he feels mysterious, but because the moment itself feels meaningful. Almost like the universe paused for a brief second to let two paths cross at the right time. Don't skip this part of your story, because something huge is waiting for you inside the timing of this meeting. Your soulmate understands that this tall man carries a simple but powerful role. He appears to show you how far you've come. Sometimes we don't realize our own growth until someone new enters our life and reflects it back to us. Through conversation, through perspective, through the way they naturally notice strengths we stopped recognizing in ourselves. And that is exactly what this encounter will do. It will remind you of your own progress, your own quiet strength, your own ability to move forward with clarity. But here is the revelation that surprised your soulmate the most. After this moment happens, after the tall man briefly becomes part of your story, something inside you will shift in a way that prepares your heart for the connection that truly matters. For the person whose soul has been slowly aligning with yours all along. Yes, your soulmate. Stay till the end of this journey, because the next part reveals the most surprising realization your soulmate recently had. They suddenly understood why the tall man must appear before the two of you fully step into each other's lives. And when you hear the reason, the entire story will begin to make sense. Right before a life-changing connection appears, life often sends a quiet signal, a moment that seems ordinary but secretly prepares the heart for something greater. That signal is closer than you think. And this is the realization that suddenly came to your soulmate, a realization that made them pause and reflect deeply. They understood that the tall man entering your life is not simply a random encounter. He is a bridge, a brief but meaningful crossing between the life you have known, and the life that is waiting to open in front of you. Sometimes the heart needs one final reminder before it recognizes what truly belongs to it. And the tall man carries that reminder. Don't skip this moment, because something huge is waiting for you in the meaning behind this arrival. Your soulmate began to see the pattern clearly. Before two people who are meant to connect step fully into each other's lives, there is often a quiet preparation, a conversation that shifts perspective, a meeting that awakens clarity, a moment that gently opens the door to the next chapter. And the tall man is connected to that moment. You might meet him unexpectedly, perhaps in a place you visit without thinking twice, or during a moment when your mind is focused on something completely different. At first, nothing about the encounter will feel dramatic. It will simply feel natural. But inside that simple moment, something subtle will happen. You will notice a thought forming, a realization about yourself that feels both new and strangely familiar. As if a piece of your confidence quietly returns. As if a small voice inside you begins saying, "You are ready for something greater." Your soulmate sensed this part clearly. They realized that the tall man's presence will reflect a truth you have been slowly growing into. A truth about your value, about your strength, about the quiet power you carry when you move through life with patience and resilience. And here is the revelation that made your soulmate smile when they understood it. The tall man is not entering your life to take anything away. He is entering to confirm something. To confirm that the path you have walked, the lessons you have learned, have shaped you into someone who is finally ready for a deeper connection. Someone who is ready for the kind of bond that does not appear often in life. Stay till the end, because the next part reveals the moment your soulmate felt the strongest sense of certainty. A moment when they suddenly realized that the distance between your lives, the space between your two paths, is quietly beginning to close. And when that realization appeared, they understood that everything is moving faster now than anyone expected. There are rare moments when the heart senses a change before the mind can explain it, a quiet awareness that something meaningful is moving closer. Your soulmate experienced one of those moments recently. It didn't arrive with noise or excitement. It came softly, almost like a calm realization rising from deep within. They suddenly understood that the space between your stories is no longer as wide as it once was. And strangely, this understanding appeared right after they began thinking about the tall man who will soon cross your path. Don't skip this part, because something huge is waiting for you inside this realization. Your soulmate started connecting the pieces of the story. They realized that the tall man's arrival is not just a reflection of your growth, it is also a signal that the next chapter of your life is beginning to open faster than before. Think about how life works sometimes. For long periods, everything feels slow, quiet, almost as if the future is taking its time. But then suddenly, events begin to move closer together. Encounters happen. Conversations unfold. Paths that once seemed distant begin to overlap. Your soulmate felt that shift. It was like standing at the edge of a new horizon and suddenly recognizing that the journey ahead has already begun. And here is the surprising truth they understood. The tall man is part of the final preparation. Not the destination, but the moment that gently points you toward it. Sometimes one person enters your life to confirm that your heart is ready for something deeper. Ready to recognize someone whose energy feels familiar from the very first conversation. Someone whose presence feels calm instead of complicated. Someone whose path aligns naturally with yours. That is what your soulmate sensed. And the moment they realized it, a quiet sense of peace replaced all their previous questions. Because they understood something important. When the tall man appears, it will not distract you from your true path. It will guide you closer to it. Stay till the end of this story, because the next revelation is something your soulmate has been feeling more strongly with each passing day. A growing certainty that when your paths finally cross, the recognition between you will happen much faster than either of you expected. Just when you think the story is unfolding slowly, life suddenly reveals that everything has been moving toward one moment all along. Your soulmate felt this shift recently in a way that surprised even them. It happened during a quiet moment, when their thoughts wandered toward the future without any clear reason. And then the realization appeared, not as a loud prediction, but as a calm certainty that something meaningful is drawing closer. The tall man entering your life is not only a sign of change, he is a signal that your journey is accelerating. The distance between where you are now and the life meant for you is quietly shrinking. Don't skip this moment, because something huge is waiting for you inside what happens next. Your soulmate began to notice something unusual about their own feelings. Small moments when your presence crossed their mind without warning. Moments when they suddenly wondered what direction your life was moving toward, even though they have not yet stepped fully into your world. It felt like two stories slowly moving toward the same point. Two paths that had been separate for so long, now beginning to curve toward one another. And the tall man's arrival sits right at the edge of that turning point. But here is the revelation that made your soulmate pause. They understood that when you meet this tall man, something inside you will become clearer than ever before. Not because of anything dramatic he says, but because of the way the moment makes you reflect on your own heart. Sometimes a brief encounter can awaken a quiet understanding, a realization about what truly matters, a deeper awareness of the kind of connection your soul has been waiting for. The tall man will carry that moment. He will unknowingly show you how ready you are for a bond that feels genuine, steady, and deeply aligned with who you have become. Your soulmate senses this strongly now. They can almost feel the moment when your story begins turning toward theirs. And the most surprising part of all is this. When your paths finally cross, the recognition may feel immediate, not overwhelming, not confusing, just a calm feeling that something important has finally found its place. Stay till the end, because the next part reveals the thought that recently crossed your soulmate's mind again and again. A quiet thought that keeps returning, telling them that the moment your lives intersect may arrive sooner than either of you ever imagined. A quiet realization has been echoing in your soulmate's mind lately, one that feels too meaningful to ignore. It arrived without warning. One simple thought, yet it carried the weight of a turning point. They suddenly understood that the moment your lives begin to intersect may not be far away at all. In fact, everything happening right now, the tall man entering your life, the subtle shifts in your perspective, the growing awareness in your heart, is part of the final alignment. Like pieces of a story quietly locking into place. Don't skip this moment, because something huge is waiting for you in what comes next. Your soulmate started to imagine the exact feeling of that first true encounter between you. Not a dramatic scene, not a moment filled with noise or confusion, but something far more powerful. A calm recognition, a feeling that the person standing in front of you somehow understands parts of your journey without needing long explanations. That kind of recognition rarely happens in life. But when it does, it changes everything. And strangely, the tall man's arrival plays a role in preparing you for that moment. Because before two paths fully merge, life sometimes places one final experience along the way. An encounter that sharpens your clarity. A conversation that reveals what kind of connection truly resonates with your heart. The tall man will help awaken that clarity. Not intentionally, not dramatically, but naturally. You may notice something subtle when you speak with him. A realization forming quietly inside you about the kind of energy you want around you. The kind of presence that feels balanced, respectful, genuine. And once that clarity appears, something inside your heart will settle. As if you finally understand what you have been waiting for all along. Your soulmate senses this shift even now. It is like they can feel the moment approaching. The moment when your story stops moving in separate directions, and begins moving together. Stay till the end of this journey, because the next part reveals the most surprising feeling your soulmate experienced recently. A moment when they suddenly felt an unexpected sense of closeness to you, even though your lives have not fully crossed yet. And that feeling revealed something extraordinary about the connection waiting ahead. There was a moment recently when your soulmate felt something they could not easily explain, a quiet sense of closeness that appeared out of nowhere. It was subtle, not loud, just a gentle feeling that your presence was somehow nearer than before. As if the invisible distance between your lives had suddenly become smaller. They paused when this feeling appeared, because it felt meaningful, almost like a preview of something that has not happened yet, but is slowly approaching. Don't skip this part of the story, because something huge is waiting for you inside this realization. Your soulmate began to notice that these moments were becoming more frequent. Small flashes of curiosity about you. Quiet thoughts about where you might be right now. Wondering what direction your life is taking, even though your paths have not fully crossed. And strangely, every time these thoughts appear, the same realization returns. The tall man entering your life is part of the reason this closeness is growing. Because when that encounter happens, something inside your journey will shift forward. It will be a moment of clarity. A moment where your perspective becomes sharper. Your heart becomes more certain about what kind of connection truly belongs in your life. And that clarity will bring you one step closer to the person who has been quietly moving toward you all along. Your soulmate. But here is the revelation that surprised them the most. The feeling of closeness they experienced was not about imagination. It felt real. Almost as if the moment your stories intersect is already beginning to form, even before the actual meeting happens. Life sometimes works this way. Two people can move through their separate worlds for years, learning lessons, growing through experiences, becoming stronger in ways they don't even realize. Then suddenly, the space between their journeys begins to close. Paths that once seemed distant begin to align. Opportunities appear. Encounters unfold. The tall man is part of that alignment. A brief but meaningful step that prepares the heart for the connection that follows. Stay till the end, because the next part reveals something your soulmate recently understood with surprising clarity. They realized that when you finally meet, there will be one unmistakable sign that confirms your stories were always moving toward each other. There is a single moment in every meaningful connection, a quiet second where everything suddenly makes sense. Your soulmate recently realized what that moment might look like when the two of you finally meet. And the thought stayed with them longer than expected. Because the sign will be simple, yet impossible to ignore. Not something dramatic. Not something loud. But something far more powerful. A calm recognition that feels almost familiar. Don't skip this part, because something huge is waiting for you inside this realization. Your soulmate began imagining the first real moment your eyes meet. At first, it may seem like an ordinary encounter. A conversation begins. A few words are exchanged. Nothing that looks extraordinary to the outside world. But inside, something subtle happens. There will be a feeling of ease. A sense that the conversation flows naturally, without effort. As if the silence between sentences feels just as comfortable as the words themselves. That is the sign your soulmate recognized. Because genuine connections rarely feel forced. They feel natural, steady, quietly powerful. And strangely, the tall man entering your life helps prepare you to recognize that difference. His presence will remind you what it feels like when an encounter is meaningful, but not deeply aligned. That contrast will sharpen your awareness. You will begin to understand the difference between a passing moment and a connection that truly resonates with your heart. Your soulmate senses that once you experience this clarity, the next encounter in your story will feel unmistakable. It will not confuse you. It will not leave you questioning. Instead, it will feel like stepping into a moment that was quietly waiting for you to arrive. Stay till the end of this journey, because the next part reveals the most surprising thought your soulmate has been holding onto lately. A thought that keeps returning again and again, telling them that when your paths finally cross, the connection may feel as if it has been there all along. Have you ever felt that strange moment when something new appears in your life, yet it somehow feels like it has always been part of your story? Your soulmate has been thinking about that exact feeling, and the more they reflect on it, the clearer one realization becomes. When your paths finally meet, the connection may not feel like the beginning of something unfamiliar. It may feel like the continuation of something that was quietly forming long before you realized it. Don't skip this moment, because something huge is waiting for you inside what your soulmate understood next. They began to imagine the way that first real conversation might unfold. Not rushed, not filled with confusion, but calm, steady, almost as if both of you instantly recognize a familiar rhythm in each other's presence. There will be something peaceful about it. A sense that the conversation flows naturally, like two people who somehow understand each other's energy without needing long explanations. Your soulmate senses that this feeling will surprise you, because before that moment happens, life will show you the contrast. The tall man who briefly enters your life will play an unexpected role in this understanding. His presence will remind you that some encounters are meaningful but temporary, important, yet not permanent. You will notice the difference in energy. With him, the interaction may feel interesting, even insightful, but something inside you will quietly know that the moment is simply guiding you forward, preparing your awareness, preparing your heart, because soon after that encounter, something far more significant will begin to unfold. Your soulmate believes that when you finally stand in front of each other, there will be one powerful realization that neither of you expected. It will feel as if time itself pauses for a second, not dramatically, just enough for both of you to sense that this meeting carries a deeper meaning. Stay till the end, because the next part reveals the quiet thought that keeps returning to your soulmate's mind. A thought that tells them the moment you recognize each other may happen in a way so natural, so effortless, that it feels almost unbelievable. Sometimes the most important moments in life arrive without warning, quietly stepping into your day when you least expect them. Your soulmate has been thinking about that kind of moment lately. A moment that does not announce itself, yet changes everything once it happens. And the more they reflect on the path that is unfolding, the more one truth becomes clear. The tall man entering your life is the final doorway before something extraordinary begins. Don't skip this part, because something huge is waiting for you inside this realization. Your soulmate understands now that the tall man's role is not to remain in your story forever. His presence is brief, but meaningful. He appears to awaken your awareness at the exact moment your heart becomes ready to recognize something deeper. Think about that. Before we encounter the connection that truly aligns with us, life often places one final experience along the path. A meeting that sharpens our understanding. A moment that reminds us what kind of energy truly resonates with who we are becoming. The tall man carries that moment. Through a conversation, through a shared perspective, through a simple interaction that feels meaningful but not permanent. And once that moment passes, something inside you will become clearer than ever before. Your soulmate senses that clarity already forming. It is like the final piece of a puzzle quietly sliding into place. And once that happens, the next meeting in your life will feel different in a way that is impossible to ignore. There will be a natural calm between you. A quiet sense of recognition that does not need explanation. Not excitement alone, but a deeper feeling of familiarity. As if your stories have been slowly moving toward each other for a long time. Stay till the end of this journey, because the next part reveals the surprising realization your soulmate had when they imagined the moment your eyes meet for the very first time. A realization that made them understand something incredible. That when that moment arrives, it may feel less like meeting someone new, and more like finally finding someone who was always meant to appear in your life. There is a quiet kind of magic in the moment when two paths finally recognize each other. Your soulmate recently imagined that moment, and something about it stayed in their heart longer than expected. Not the place, not the exact words, but the feeling. A calm certainty that when your eyes finally meet, something inside both of you will instantly understand. Don't skip this moment, because something huge is waiting for you in what your soulmate realized next. They began to see the entire journey differently. All the time that passed, all the experiences that shaped you, even the tall man who briefly enters your life. Every piece suddenly made sense. Because sometimes life does not rush the most meaningful connections. Instead, it carefully prepares both hearts, step by step, moment by moment, until the timing becomes undeniable. The tall man's arrival is one of those final steps, a quiet signal that your story is shifting forward. When that encounter happens, something inside you will feel clearer. Your perspective will sharpen. Your understanding of what truly resonates with your heart will deepen. And then, without forcing anything, your path will naturally begin moving toward the person whose journey has been quietly aligning with yours. Your soulmate. But here is the realization that surprised them the most. When they imagined the moment you finally meet, it did not feel complicated. It felt peaceful. As if both of you instantly recognized the calm strength in each other's presence. There will be no need to rush explanations. No need to prove anything. Just a simple feeling that being in the same moment together somehow feels right. That is the kind of connection your soulmate believes is approaching. Not dramatic. Not overwhelming. But deeply real. Stay till the end, because the next part reveals the thought that brought an unexpected smile to your soulmate's face.